A lot of people know that I love food, and I love healthy food and sharing it with other people to make it part of their lives. One thing that's always been a staple, I would say probably the past 10 years, is for me to do homemade bread, grains, so pancakes, waffles, wheat bread, pizza dough, and occasionally even pasta, although that's a lot of work, a work of love. But one thing, the basis of all of this is that I use organic wheat berries, and so that way I know that where it's coming from and that it's organic, so that being important. And then another thing that's essential to using wheat berries is that the amino acids, the proteins in wheat berries begin to break down after about 24 hours after the wheat has been milled. And then especially with store-bought breads, once the bread is baked and then put on the shelf, most likely, it has some preservatives and chemicals so that it can stay on the shelf. But then the longer it stays on the shelf, even if it is bakery fresh homemade breads, those amino acids begin to break down. And most likely, if it is a local bakery, I would guess that it's probably not wheat that they have milled from wheat berries like this. And so that has always been something I do. It is important to eat berries. I buy it. This is a 25-pound bag that I just got in the mail. And you can buy it locally. I like to buy it from a place in Oregon. And it's important that it's properly contained. I use this 5-gallon container, and then it has an air-sealed top, and that way no little varmints can get in and enjoy all the benefits of your wheat berries. They stay fresh. Sure that on the blog the actual ingredient list and directions are written down as well, but we're going to go through this on the brief version. Is to take the wheat berries from their berry state into a milled state, a flour state. And so this is a Wonder Mill. I've had this machine, the Wonder Mill, and my bread machine for almost 10 years. Neither one of them have ever had an issue. They are a little bit of an expensive investment in the beginning. I think my mill was somewhere around $200, maybe a little bit more. It's been a long time, like I said, since I purchased it. And then my bread machine, which I'm sure being from Alabama, people are going to love for me to try to say this. It's Zojirushi, and I can write that down and put it on the blog. But again, this machine was not cheap, but it has given me a wonderful life of being able to bake all this stuff, and so well worth getting the mill on. It sounds a little bit like a jet airplane in the kitchen. Have the machine on before any berries go in, because that grinder is active. So the machine goes on and then the berries go in. Quantities of all the ingredients I'm just going to put on the blog. It is important to let the mill completely stop before you disengage the container with the flour in it, or you will have a big poof smoke cloud of fresh whole wheat flour. So now once everything is together, so water, and then I have 1/3 of a cup of honey. With honey, it's always nice if you can use locally found honey. That way you get all the benefits of the local allergens from the bees in the area that you live. So we have water, oil, honey, and I'm going to crack 1 egg down into the mixing pot. You don't have to mix it at all. The nice thing about the show you what this looks like in the end. And I'm going to make a nest in the center. Now off to the side, on top of that dried layer, I'm going to add in 1 teaspoon of vital gluten, and this is just going to go. This is not going in the nest. This is going off to the side. Again, I'll show you. And then a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of lecithin granules. That was a little bit of a spillover, so 1. And then a teaspoon of salt. Do the way my great-grandmother always did. Half the time, I never measure anything. And then right in the center of that nest is a tablespoon of active yeast. So the layer of liquids was on the bottom, and then the layer of flour, and then I have the dried ingredients over there, and then the nest is for the yeast. Okay? And with all that is in place, I'm going to put the baking pan into the machine. Now when I first started making bread, I made a mistake of adding all the ingredients into the baking pan with the pan inside the machine. Well, the machine has this air pocket because the heat coils are down below. And if you get excited and go dumping your flour into the pan, you can do like I did. And it was a mistake I only made one time, and had flour all down on the inside of my machine. Obviously, now I'm going to set my cycle. This machine has the capability of programming your own cycles, or it has preset cycles. I do have a cycle that I made for this bread recipe, and I can add that as well to the blog with the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to make sure that I choose my homemade cycle, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes. Hit the start button, and then the machine does everything else. So it's going to go through a warm-up period where it's going to heat the bottom of the pan just slightly so that the ingredients are warmed, so that that yeast is activated once the dough starts to be blended. Then it's going to go through a blending cycle, and it's going to go through 2 rises. Go through rise 1, the machine will pause for a little while, then it's going to beat it down again, and then it's going to come up to a second rise, and then a final bake cycle, which is about 45 minutes. And so we'll check back on it when it's done. So as promised, I did go for a workout, so I literally just stepped in the door from my run, and the buzzer went off, so perfect timing. And here we are, this beautiful loaf of bread. And also, one thing about this machine is that it bakes long loaves rather than tall loaves. The original home bread machines, used to be those funky tall loaves, and so you never got a really nice crust on them. I do recommend using a cooling rack. That way, when you put the bread onto whatever surface you're on to cool, that the bottom of it doesn't get sweaty and stay moist. So I turn it upside down and give it a good shake, and then quickly flip it over so that it doesn't get dented on. There's our beautiful bread.